Hi folks, welcome back to the layout. As you see in front of us, we have a new locomotive on the layout, and this was actually acquired a couple of months ago, but I haven't really been able to get around to doing anything with it until now. So we're going to dive right in. This is a Bachmann Derby Lightweight 2-car DMU. And so this was used alongside a couple other DMUs of the 1960s as commuter trains, taking over stopping suburban passenger trains, originally run by suburban tanks and BR standard class locomotives. And this is pretty much what they switched to. And then this was just before the BR tops period in the 1970s. So it looks more like a 70s style DMU in my opinion, but it's actually say more of a 60s era locomotive. Interesting about these types of DMUs is they would work right alongside BR steam locomotives until they were abolished in about 1969. So I think it's good to add to my layout for that aspect of it. And so diving right into the detail, we have a great paint finish on this particular one. I really liked it. This is the BR blue with the full yellow ends, and it's also available in BR green with half yellow ends and BR green with speed whiskers. So you know, price will vary depending on which one you get, but you usually can pick these up for about 80 to sometimes as much as 100 pounds, but it's still not too bad when you think about all the detail in this locomotive. So actually really not more of a locomotive, it's more of a multiple unit DMU, but you know what I mean. So as you can see, there's the lights on the interior on both cars. Now I will say this right off the bat, these DMUs require a decoder for each unit if you wish to run them on DCC. So unfortunately there's no electrical connection between the couplings, so they don't really like doing that, because then you can see the wires and it looks pretty, I don't know, it kind of gives away that realism. So to get around that, they just made it so each car needs a decoder. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive for DCC conversion to do that, but I don't know, I think it's alright. Not too bad. This car takes a 6-pin decoder, which is a little hard to find in America. I'm not sure about in Britain, but I prefer 8. And then this one takes an 8-pin decoder. So spend about 40 bucks in decoders. So you know, that's why I don't have too many DMUs on my layout. So not only that the interior lights light up, but the regular lights light up, the headlights light up. So these this is the front headlight, and this is what it's going to look like when it's going in the forward direction, but when you reverse it, then they turn to a stale red. So I think the red and the white lights are very good on this locomotive. Both light up pretty bright. I think they're LEDs, so I'm not sure, but definitely great for when you're going through tunnels or anything like that, and great for train shows or anything, any kind of exhibition, because just adds that little extra amount of realism. So that's quite nice. And the cab for the driver, for the engineer, will be on either side, because this is a multiple unit. So both are the same type of detail, but they're both really good. Now the interior detail isn't amazing. I think that the seats could have been painted at least instead of just used as a molded color, because I don't think the blue looks that good as a molded color, but that's alright. Not everything can be perfect. But I'm not sure if you can see here, but on these windows, especially up front, there's little insignias, and those are telling whether that particular part of the multiple unit is smoking or non-smoking. And so there's little insignias on there, or little pieces of information. So really nice window detailing on the side here, and Another thing I like about it is, we're gonna bring this forward a little bit so you can see, but it's packed with detail along the sides of the units, and that goes with both sides of each unit, so that's quite nice. Now, it's a little bit harder to see this, but there is a fair amount of detailing on the roof of the locomotive, or on the roof of the unit, of each unit, and that includes exhaust pipes, electrical cabling, and actually there isn't too much to really add here in terms of detail. It comes with a couple little detail things to add on, but not too much. So that's one problem about this locomotive. Now, having set that aside, another thing we should talk about in this review is the fact that this locomotive has an incredible gear mechanism for the motor. It runs great, so that's quite nice. And really, it can start off from a very low speed setting and stay that way without stalling or losing power on the tracks, so that's quite nice. I still recommend to keep your rails cleaned at all times, just so you don't have to clean the wheels of the unit or the locomotive very much, because it will have to do that if you run them on dirty rails a lot, and you won't get as well running off of it. So, having said that, now here we go to the price, because the price is kind of the decider here. This locomotive I got on sale for £79, which is really not that much. So I was completely fine spending that kind of money on this great locomotive. But, you know, some people might want to look into it a little bit more, but I find it was pretty good. But they can vary. You can pay as much as £100 for them, which isn't too bad in my opinion, but you know, some people don't want to spend £100 on the locomotive and then spend another 20 to 30 pounds on decoders for this. So, you know, it just depends. But if you're looking into buying it and you can find it for a good price, I definitely recommend it. Even with like a £90 price tag, I would still recommend it, simply because this locomotive is packed with detail, and it really helps set an era for your layout. So if they see these type of DMUs, they'll realize, hey, this is going to be a 1960s base layout for the most part. So that's why I purchased it, and now we're gonna take a look at how she runs. Alright, so let's get her running. Headlight on. Now, one thing I really like about this locomotive, or about this unit, is that it practically glides over the rails. The unit is very quiet, it's very smooth, and just makes a very satisfying clicking sound on the rails as it goes by. It's really, you can barely hear the engine. It's not like some of these locomotives where you can hear the gears kind of whirring or almost like clicking. That's not the case with this one at all. And considering the motor size with this unit, I'm very impressed. It doesn't have the biggest or the most complicated motor used, but it's very quiet, it's very reliable, and it's has great electrical pickups. Each one of these axles on this unit have electrical pickups, so that's really good. You know, when you got 8 axles with pickups, that's never a bad thing. So you won't have too much trouble with electrical conductivity for this locomotive at all. And it goes up to a pretty fast speed. This is about as fast as it'll go right here. Don't prefer to run it anywhere this fast because they rarely went this fast, but that's about the top speed, which isn't too bad. But we're going to wind that down here. So this is pretty much my spiel on it. I'd say if you have the money and you're looking for a grid DMU for your layout, this would be my first recommendation. The Class 108 I've heard is great from Bachmann as well. There's a couple different ones. out there, Bachmann's releasing a Class 101. That would also be a good choice, but those two are usually a little bit more expensive than these. So this would be my first recommendation, especially if you're running your layout on a budget. So, having said that, let's turn the speed down on her and get her stopped. Alright, so have a look at this Bachmann Derby Lightweight DMU at your hobby shops or online. And hope you had fun watching this video, and hopefully it was informative. This is Lucas TC Poops signing out.